I remember the exact moment my phone buzzed. It was late afternoon, a quiet Sunday, and I was sitting in the corner booth of this little coffee shop downtown, nursing a lukewarm cup of black coffee. The place smelled of burnt espresso and cinnamon muffins. I glanced down at my phone, expecting another junk notification or maybe a text from my friend Jason about the game later. But when I saw the name Mom light up on the screen, my chest tightened. I swiped it open. The message was short, cold. It said, "We changed all the locks. You don't have a home anymore. Let's not make this harder than it needs to be." For a second, I thought it was a mistake. Like maybe she meant to send it to someone else. But no, it was addressed to me, my own mother. I read it again slowly this time, every word sinking in like a stone. I stared at the glowing letters until they blurred. My hand started trembling and the coffee cup rattled on the saucer. "What the hell?" I whispered. I must have read that text 20 times in the next 5 minutes. My mom wasn't the type to joke. She was practical, sharp, no nonsense. If she wrote something like that, she meant it. I called her immediately. It rang once, then went straight to voicemail. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. "Mom, it's me." "What do you mean? What's going on? Call me back, please." I hung up, but the silence that followed was worse than the message itself. I sat there frozen, staring at the phone, trying to remember if I'd done something, said something, crossed some invisible line. Sure, my family and I had our share of fights. What family doesn't? But this, kicking me out of my own home without warning, it didn't make sense. I thought back to that morning. I'd woken up in my apartment, technically still their house, the one I'd moved back into after college when money got tight, and everything seemed normal. Mom had made pancakes. Dad was out in the yard raking leaves. My sister Emily was upstairs blasting music. Nobody said a word about locks. Nobody said a word about me leaving. But now, hours later, I was staring at a message that basically erased me from the family. Jason slid into the booth across from me, grinning like always. "Dude, you ready for the game later?" I looked up, my face pale. "Jason, my mom just texted me. She says I don't have a home anymore." His smile dropped. "Wait, what?" I handed him my phone. He read the message, his eyebrows climbing higher. "Bro, is this for real?" "That's cold. I don't understand it," I said, my voice shaking. I was literally just there this morning. Everything was fine. "Why would she—" Jason leaned back, shaking his head. "Man, that's messed up. You gonna go over there?" "Yeah," I muttered. "I have to. I need to see what the hell is happening." The drive back felt like hours, even though it was just 15 minutes. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. The whole way my mind was racing. Did I do something last night I couldn't remember? Did they find out something I'd been hiding? When I pulled into the driveway, the first thing I noticed was the front door. A shiny new deadbolt glinted in the sunlight. My stomach dropped. I got out of the car and walked up slowly, my footsteps crunching against the gravel. I tried my old key. It didn't even fit. I knocked. "Mom, Dad?" "It's me. What's going on?" No answer. I knocked harder. "Mom, Dad?" "Open the door, please." Finally, I heard footsteps on the other side. The blinds shifted slightly and I caught a glimpse of my mom's face. But instead of relief, I saw something else in her eyes. Something cold, almost like fear. She didn't open the door. She just said through the wood, "Michael, you need to leave. It's better this way." "Better this way?" I shouted, my throat tightening. "What does that even mean? I live here. I'm your son." I heard Dad's voice then, low and firm. "You can't stay here anymore. Don't come back." It felt like the ground was ripped out from under me. "What are you talking about?" "What did I do?" There was silence. Then Mom's voice again, softer but unyielding. "We'll send your things later, just go." My fists pressed against the door. "Please don't do this. At least tell me why." But the only sound was the lock clicking into place, sealing me out. I stood there for what felt like forever, staring at the door that had always been my safe place. The door I'd run through as a kid after school. The door that opened to Christmas mornings and family dinners. Now it was just wood and steel, shutting me out like I was a stranger. Finally, a neighbor across the street, Mrs. Caldwell, the sweet old lady who used to give me cookies when I mowed her lawn, peeked out from her porch. She looked at me with this sad expression, then quickly went back inside. Like she knew something. I turned and stumbled back to my car. My chest hurt like someone had punched me. My own parents. My own house, gone. Jason called as I sat there gripping the steering wheel. "Dude, what happened?" They locked me out," I whispered. "They won't even tell me why." "Man, that's crazy. You want me to come get you?" I shook my head even though he couldn't see. "No, I'll figure it out." But the truth was I had no idea how to figure it out. That night I slept in my car, parked behind a gas station on the edge of town, shivering under a thin blanket I kept in the trunk. My phone battery was dying, but every time I checked it, there were no new messages. Not from Mom, not from Dad, not from Emily, just silence. I thought about Emily. Maybe she knew something. I tried calling her, but it went straight to voicemail, just like with Mom. I left her a message. "Em, it's me. Please call me back." I don't understand what's happening. Hours dragged on. The cold seeped into my bones. I couldn't stop replaying the moment Mom's eyes met mine through that window. The way she looked at me, like I wasn't her son anymore. The next morning, I drove to Emily's school. I waited in the parking lot until I saw her walk out with her friends. She spotted me instantly. Her eyes widened and she stopped in her tracks. "Emily!" I called, getting out of the car. Her friends whispered, staring. Emily walked over slowly, glancing around like she didn't want to be seen with me. "Em, what's going on?" I asked. "Why won't Mom and Dad talk to me? Why did they change the locks?" Her face was pale. She bit her lip. "Michael, I can't. They told me not to say anything." My heart raced. Not to say anything. "About what?" She shook her head, tears brimming in her eyes. "Just leave it alone, please. Emily, I'm your brother. I deserve to know," she whispered. "They're scared of you." The words hit me like a punch. "Scared? Of me? Why? What did I do?" But before she could answer, one of her friends grabbed her arm. "Come on, Emily, let's go." She pulled away from me, eyes downcast, and walked off without another word. I stood there in the parking lot, stunned, feeling the weight of every pair of eyes on me. My own sister. Afraid of me? I couldn't shake Emily's words. "They're scared of you." It didn't make sense. I'd never hurt my family, never even raised a hand in anger. Sure, I'd argued with them, maybe shouted once or twice during fights, but scared? That wasn't me. The rest of that day, I drove aimlessly around town, trying to piece things together. Every memory, every conversation with my parents over the past few weeks ran through my mind like a film reel. Nothing explained this. Nothing justified locking me out of my own home. By evening, I found myself parked outside Jason's apartment. I didn't want to admit I needed help, but I couldn't keep sleeping in my car. When he opened the door, I must have looked like hell. Unshaven, hollow-eyed, still wearing yesterday's clothes. "Jesus, man," he muttered, pulling me inside. "You look like you've been run over." I collapsed onto his couch. "They won't even tell me why. My own sister can't look me in the eye. She said they're scared of me, Jason. Scared. What the hell does that even mean?" Jason handed me a beer and sat across from me. "Maybe it's some kind of misunderstanding?" Or he hesitated. "Or maybe they know something you don't." I slammed the beer down, foam spilling over the side. "There's nothing to know. I didn't do anything." The anger in my voice startled even me. Jason just nodded slowly like he was trying not to set me off further. The next few days blurred together. I stayed at Jason's place, crashing on the couch, showering at odd hours, scrolling endlessly through my phone for some kind of clue. My parents didn't respond to my calls or texts. Emily stayed silent. It was like I'd been cut out of their lives overnight. But then, one night, I got another message. Not from Mom this time, but from an unknown number. It said, "Stop asking questions, let it go. It's for your own good." I stared at it, my skin prickling. I showed Jason. "Dude, that's creepy," he said, frowning. "You think it's from your parents?" "I don't know," I muttered. "But whoever it is, they want me gone." Something in me snapped. I couldn't just sit around anymore. I needed answers. The next morning, I drove back to the neighborhood. I parked a block away from the house and waited. Hours passed. Finally, I saw Dad's truck pull out of the driveway. Mom got in too. They drove off together. I walked quickly up to the house, heart racing. I tried the back door, but of course it was locked. The windows were shut tight. I circled around, and that's when I noticed the basement window, half covered by a bush but cracked open just a little for ventilation. I hesitated, my pulse pounding. Breaking into my own house, was that even legal? But it wasn't just a house. It was my home, my family, my life, and they weren't giving me any other choice. I shoved the window open wider, crawled through, and landed on the cold basement floor. The air smelled of dust and laundry detergent. For a moment, everything was silent, just the faint hum of the water heater. I crept upstairs, each step groaning beneath my weight. The house looked the same. Same framed photos on the wall, same worn couch in the living room, same scent of Mom's lavender candles. It was eerie, like nothing had changed, yet everything had. I went to my old room. The door was shut. My hand shook as I turned the knob. Inside, the room was empty. Not just tidy and empty. My posters were gone, my clothes, my books, even the bed frame. All that remained was bare carpet and blank walls. It felt like someone had erased me. I stumbled back, my throat tight. That's when I noticed something on the desk, a single envelope with my name on it. I tore it open. Inside was a short handwritten note. "Michael, we love you, but you can't be here. It's not safe, trust us. Don't come back, no signature, no explanation, just those words." My hand shook as I read it over and over. Not safe. Safe from what? I stuffed the note in my pocket and hurried out before my parents came back. Back at Jason's, I spread the note out on the coffee table. "Look at this. What the hell does it mean, not safe? What are they hiding from me?" Jason rubbed his temples. "Man, this is starting to sound like some movie. Maybe they're in trouble. Maybe they're protecting you from something. But by kicking me out," I snapped. "By treating me like a criminal in my own house?" Jason didn't answer. And I didn't sleep that night. The next day, I decided to track down Emily again. I knew she had classes at the community college nearby, so I waited in the parking lot until she came out. She froze when she saw me. "Michael, you can't keep doing this," she whispered, looking around nervously. "Em, please," I begged. "I found the note." "What aren't they telling me? Why is everyone acting like I'm dangerous?" Her eyes filled with tears. She glanced over her shoulder, then leaned closer. "They think you're not—" "You?" I frowned. "What are you talking about?" She wiped her eyes. "Something happened, Michael. Something they won't explain. They say you're different, that the real you isn't here anymore." My stomach dropped. "That's insane. I'm right here. I'm me." "I know," she whispered. "But they believe it. And they're terrified." I grabbed her hand. "Emily, you know me. You know I'd never hurt you." She nodded, sobbing quietly. "I do, but Mom and Dad, they don't. They've convinced themselves you're something else." Her words rattled around in my head like loose screws. Something else? What did that even mean? Before I could press further, Emily pulled her hand away. "I have to go. Please just stop pushing. It'll only make it worse." She hurried off, leaving me standing there in shock. Back at Jason's, I told him everything. He stared at me like he wasn't sure whether to believe it. "So they think you're, what, an imposter or something?" I laughed bitterly. "I don't know, man. But whatever it is, they'd rather erase me than face it." Jason leaned forward. "Listen, Mike, you've got two options. You either let this go and start fresh somewhere else, or you dig until you find the truth. But if you do, you might not like what you find." I looked at the note again, the words blurring. "It's not safe." Something inside me knew I couldn't walk away. Not until I knew why my own parents believed I wasn't their son anymore. That night, I made a decision. I was going back one last time. Not to beg, not to plead, but to get answers. I waited until the lights in the house went out. Then I crept across the yard, my heart hammering. I slipped around back, climbed through the same basement window, and moved silently up the stairs. Voices drifted from the kitchen. I pressed myself against the wall and listened. Mom's voice, low and trembling. "What if he comes back again?" Dad's reply, "We can't let him in. It's not Michael anymore. It hasn't been for weeks." My blood ran cold. Mom whispered, "But what if we're wrong?" "What if we're not?" Dad cut in firm. I saw it in his eyes. "That's not our son." I stumbled back, my breath catching. "Not their son? Not me?" I felt dizzy, like the walls were closing in. I couldn't listen anymore. I turned and bolted down the stairs, out the basement window, and into the night. I didn't stop running until I reached my car. My chest was on fire, my legs trembling. But all I could hear was Dad's voice echoing in my head. "That's not our son." I sat in my car for what felt like hours, staring at the dark road ahead, replaying their words in my head. "It's not Michael anymore. That's not our son." The night was quiet, but inside me there was a storm. My own parents, the people who raised me, who kissed my scraped knees and cheered at my graduation, had convinced themselves I wasn't me. It was insane, but the way they said it, with such conviction, such fear, made my stomach twist. I couldn't let it go. I needed proof. I needed someone outside of this mess to tell me I wasn't losing my mind. The next morning, I went to see Dr. Reynolds, the family doctor I'd known since I was a kid. He looked surprised when I walked into his office, unshaven and hollow-eyed. "Michael," he said gently, "you look like you haven't slept in a week. What's going on?" I sat down hard in the chair. "Doc, I need you to tell me something. I need you to tell me I'm me." He frowned. "What do you mean?" I explained everything. The locks, the note, Emily's words, and what I overheard in the kitchen. He listened quietly, fingers steepled under his chin. When I finished, he sighed. "Michael, you've been under a lot of stress. Sometimes families, they convince themselves of things that aren't real. Fear does strange things. So you think they're just paranoid?" I asked, searching his eyes. "I think," he said carefully, "that maybe something happened that frightened them, and instead of facing it, they've projected it onto you. That doesn't mean you're not you." His words should have comforted me, but instead they made me feel even more unsteady. If my parents had built this story in their heads, what could possibly have driven them to believe it so completely? When I left the office, Jason called. "Hey man, I've been thinking. What if we check the house when they're not around? Like really check? Maybe there's something there that explains why they're acting like this." Part of me wanted to say no, but deep down, I knew he was right. That night, we drove to the house together. The lights were off, the driveway empty. Jason boosted me through the basement window, and then I let him in through the back door once I was inside. The two of us moved quietly through the house, flashlights cutting through the dark. Everything looked normal at first, too normal, like it had been staged. Then we went to the attic. The air was musty, thick with dust. Old boxes lined the walls, filled with photo albums and Christmas decorations. But in the center of the room was something new, a locked trunk. Jason crouched beside it. "You think this is it?" My hands shook as I forced the latch with a screwdriver. With a loud click, it opened. Inside were stacks of papers, photographs, and a small black notebook. I grabbed the notebook and flipped it open. My blood ran cold. It was filled with notes in my mother's handwriting. Detailed observations, dates, times, and all of them were about me. Michael didn't come home until after midnight. Said he was with Jason, but Jason swore he hadn't seen him. Michael's eyes looked different today. Not like him. He asked about childhood memories he should already know. He doesn't laugh the same anymore. Page after page, their paranoia spilled out in ink. To them, I wasn't their son. I was someone else wearing his skin. I dropped the notebook, my hands trembling. This is insane. They're keeping records like I'm some stranger. Jason picked up one of the photographs from the trunk. His face went pale. "Dude, you need to see this." It was a picture of me, or at least it looked like me. Same face, same build. But in the photo, I was standing in the backyard at night, staring straight at the camera with a blank expression. My clothes were torn and my skin looked almost gray. "I don't remember this," I whispered. Jason flipped through the stack. More photos, more versions of me, caught at odd angles, sometimes outside, sometimes in the hallway at night. In each one, my eyes looked strung on empty. My knees buckled and I sank to the floor. "I swear, Jason, I don't remember any of this." "I don't." He put a hand on my shoulder. "I believe you, man. But this is what they've been seeing. No wonder they're scared." We stuffed the notebook and photos back into the trunk and left before my parents came home. That night, lying awake on Jason's couch, I kept seeing those photos in my mind. My face, but not my face. My body, but not me. And then memories started creeping in on flashes I couldn't place. Standing outside my own window in the rain, waking up in my bed without remembering how I got there. Moments I had brushed off as stress or exhaustion, now piecing together into something I couldn't deny. Maybe my parents weren't crazy after all. The next morning, I decided to confront them one last time. Jason begged me not to, but I couldn't live with the questions anymore. When I pulled into the driveway, Mom was outside watering the flowers. She froze when she saw me, the hose slipping from her hand. "Michael," she whispered. I walked slowly toward her. "Mom, please." I found the notebook. I saw the photos. "I just want to know the truth. Why do you think I'm not me?" Her eyes filled with tears. "Because you're not." My chest ached. "I am. I'm your son. I remember everything. I love you." She shook her head violently. "You don't laugh the way you used to. You don't smile the same. And sometimes you disappear and I don't know where you've been." Her voice broke. The real Michael wouldn't scare his own sister. The real Michael wouldn't stand outside our window at night just watching. I stumbled back. "I never—" But then, in the pit of my stomach, something twisted. A memory surfaced. Standing in the yard at night, staring at the house, watching, not knowing why. I felt sick. Dad came out then, his face hard. "You need to leave. We told you before. You're not our son anymore. Whatever you are, stay away from this family." Tears stung my eyes. "Please, if you love me at all, help me understand what's happening to me." But Dad just shook his head. "We lost our son weeks ago. You're just what's left." I couldn't breathe. My vision blurred. Without another word, I turned and walked back to my car. As I drove away, the weight of it all crushed me. Maybe they were wrong. Maybe they'd lost their minds. But deep down, a part of me couldn't shake the feeling that they were right. That something inside me had changed. That night, I stood in front of the mirror in Jason's bathroom, staring at my reflection. I studied my eyes, my smile, the lines of my face. It all looked the same. But the longer I stared, the less familiar it became. And then, for just a moment, I saw it. A flicker in the glass. My reflection didn't move when I did. It just stared back, cold and empty. I stumbled away, heart racing, gripping the sink for balance. In that moment, I understood why my parents were afraid. I didn't sleep that night, or the next. I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt that other version of me watching, waiting. It's been weeks now. Jason tries to keep me grounded, but I can see the doubt in his eyes too. Sometimes I catch him staring at me when he thinks I'm not looking, like he's wondering if I'm still me. I don't know the answer anymore. All I know is that my mom's message was right. I don't have a home anymore. Maybe I never did. And sometimes late at night when I see my reflection flicker in the dark window, I wonder if they were right all along. Maybe I'm not Michael anymore. Maybe I never was.